Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Radeint here, and today I want to share with you my Samut Aggro standard deck. This deck is kind of like a budget deck. It's on TGG Player, it's 40 bucks. Online, it's 15 tickets, so not that pricey, and it's a really fun deck. I have a lot of fun playing it, and it actually wins games. That's what makes it pretty exciting. So I just wanted to share it with you guys. And of course, the first hero is going to be Samut, Voice of Dissent. Legendary creature, 3/4. We're going to play 4 copies of this creature. It has flash, so we can bring it in anytime we need to after turn 5 and above. It has double strike, vigilance, and haste. I mean, she is freaking amazing. Now, I'm actually not playing white in this deck just because I didn't want to expand on the mana and go into white. We already get a lot from the card. You could play white if you want to, but I think it's just fine playing red-green only and using these other 2 lines of text here. Other creatures we control have haste. I mean, after turn 5, if we have Samut down, unbelievable. We're getting everything down, just hitting them in the face. That's what we want to do, is hit them in the face. Our second hero in the deck is going to be Mina and Denn Wildborn. 4 mana. She's a 4/4. When she's in play, we can play an additional land on each of our turns. For a mountain and a forest, we can turn a land to our hand, and target creature gains trample until end of turn. So when they got those 1/1s out, we can just bring a land back to our hand, give that creature trample, and then on the next turn we could even just play that land back down too, if we only played 1 land that turn. So pretty awesome card. The 4/4, pretty powerful. So these are our 2 heroes. Now the reason I wanted to build this deck and make a standard deck like this with these 2 heroes in there is because I've won a couple games of Commander with both these guys as the commander, or both these females as the commander, I guess I should say. Well, Mina and Den, two people there, both of them in 1 card. So these are our heroes. So let's move on to the deck and see how the rest of it plays out. So we want to play 4 copies of Bloodlust Insider. This card is amazing. It's only a 1/1, but for 1 mana we get it down, and then every turn after that we can tap it and target creature gains haste until end of turn. So turn 2, 3, and 4, and 5, when we're getting all these creatures out, they immediately can just hit them in the face, especially on turn 2 and 3. There's a lot of decks I've played that do not have any creatures out then, and next thing you know, they're losing lots of life because of the Bloodlust Insider giving all my creatures haste. So we'll play that. We'll play 4 copies of Druid of the Cowl. This card we definitely need. We need the mana ramp. Not necessarily to get like turn 2 and then on turn 3 play Mina or a 4-drop. We can play this on turn 2 if we have just Bloodlust Insider in our opening hand and we have Druid of the Cowl in our opening hand and no other really awesome cards. We might want to just go ahead and play Druid of the Cowl on turn 2, of course, and then, you know, if we have the Mina in our hand, we can play her or play another 4-drop on turn 3. But we're going to run 4 copies of Voltaic Brawler. This is a 2 mana card. It's a 3/2. When he enters the battlefield, we get 2 energy. When it attacks, we can pay 1 energy, and the Brawler gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. We'll play 4 copies of this. The reason we're playing 4 is because what we want to see is Insider and Brawler both in our opening hand with a mountain and a forest. If you get that opening hand, you're rolling right now. You're rolling. Okay, we can drop Insider on turn 1. On turn 2, drop down Brawler, give him haste with Insider, and hit him for 3 or even 4 damage on turn 2. Just smacking them right in the face, taking some of their life. Now, if you draw a Brawler on turn 3 or already have another Brawler in your hand, wow. Because turn 3, you're going to drop another one, give it haste, and you're hitting them for 8 on turn 3 if they have nothing out. And I mean, they've already lost almost 11, 12 points of damage and they're hurting. They're hurting pretty bad. So this deck can definitely speed up real fast if you get the right hand and hit them in the face hard. Moving on to our 3-drops. We're going to run a lot of 3-drops just in case we don't have another Brawler in our hand. But Charioteer has Trample, and other creatures we control have Trample when he's out. He's a 3/3. Drop him on turn 3 if we have our Insider out. There we go. Give him haste and attack with our Brawler. Hit him for 7 or 6. I mean, they're just taking lots of damage early, especially if they don't have any creatures. If they do have creatures out, well, we can just throw them in, just attack and make them block with those guys, especially if they're not too big, if they're 1/1s or 2/2s. I mean, they have to choose to keep dying and get closer to 1 or get closer to 0 life. Or they can block and sacrifice their creature. Now, those decks that don't have any creatures on turn 2 and 3, they're gonna come out hard around 4, 5, and 6. They're going to be getting their like little combo together, getting all their lands out that they need to drop their big guys. So it's going to get tough. So we need to get that damage in early. And then we'll have to do some more tricky plays, some thinking, and try to figure out how we're going to combat with what they're dropping out on those later turns. We'll play 3 copies of this Charioteer. We don't want to see him too often because he's not that great. Our next 3-drop is Prowling Serpopard. 3 mana. 1 colorless, 2 forests. He's a 4/3. He can't be countered, so those blue decks are gonna have some trouble if this guy's in our hand. And then other creature spells after we got this guy out, they can't be countered, so we can keep dropping them, giving them haste, and hitting them in the face. We'll only play 3 copies of this card as well. I've considered dropping these down a little bit more since we have so many 3-drops. But I like the feel of it right now. I would say right now I do have another version of the deck that is a little bit more pricey, where I actually take out Mina and put in Glory Bringers. I take out the 3 Minas completely, put in Glory Bringers to make it a little bit more competitive, and I think I drop out some of these Charioteers as well because we just don't need so many 3-drops. And I add some other cards in. But I'll do another video on that deck, the more pricey version of this, the more competitive version. That's a little bit more exciting. But this is an awesome deck for the price, a fun deck, and it actually wins games. So let's look at our last set of 3-drops. Brazen Scourge. We'll play 3 of these cards. It's a 3/3 with haste. That's all we need out of this card. Drop it down on turn 3. We don't even need the Insider in play. We can just go ahead and hit him for 3 more. If you didn't have the Insider in your opening hand, or didn't get him out on turn 1, and you got the Brawler out on turn 2, on turn 3, we can go ahead and just swing in for 6 or 7 again. Hopefully they don't got any guys with 3 power or larger, because we might lose a guy. But we can go ahead and keep hitting them in the face. We're going to play 2 copies of a planeswalker, Arlinn Kord. She's a good addition to the deck because one reason I put her in here is I wanted to have something out there. I use her as more of a deterrent. So they can choose to attack her, and she's not the best planeswalker, but she's pretty good. They can choose to attack her or choose to attack me if we're in like that kind of battle where we're both attacking back and forth. She's only got 3 loyalty, so they can take her out pretty quick. But right off the bat, we can +1 and give 1 creature +2/+2 and vigilance and haste. So again, if we don't have Insider, she does really good on turn 4 to give something else haste. But by then we can already use them. But if you get her out later in the game, a longer game, you might have a little extra mana to throw down a 3-drop or a Brawler and give it haste if your Insider has been taken off the battlefield. But what I really like about her first form is the 0 ability. Put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield and transform her. Not only does it transform Arlinn Embraced by the Moon to Embraced by the Moon, but she protects herself with a wolf creature. So you can use that wolf creature as a blocker, not only for her, but also for you, or just to delay, to give yourself some time to get to some of our heroes. So I really like the 0 ability more than the first ability. And then once we get into the wolf form, we can +1 for creatures we control, get +1/+1. So we give our whole squad +1/+1, make them a little bit more powerful, and just go for the face again. Just keep attacking. I mean, this is an all-in deck. It's a fun deck to just drop creatures and go for the face. If they have guys out, we got a little bit more power. Maybe we can live through the fight. Might lose some guys, but we'll take out some of their guys and we'll hit some face. A -1, we can it deals 3 damage to a target creature or player, and then we transform back to Arlinn. So we can blow up something they got, or we can take down some of their life if they got nothing out at this point. But mainly, that's a good as a defensive mechanism to take down something, clear the way for our squad. So you kind of can play around with the +1, -1 to decide whether we need to power up our guys or clear the way for our guys to get through. And then once you go back to Arlinn, you can make another wolf, and then you got another blocker out there or something to protect Arlinn. And then the ultimate, which you probably aren't going to get to because a lot of people like to take down planeswalkers, but creatures we control have haste, and then if we tap it, this creature deals damage equal to its power to the target creature or player. So then, if they got too many blockers out and we can protect Arlinn long enough to transform her and get the ultimate off, we can then use our guys to hit their face without attacking and not being blocked. So this is a pretty awesome card. I considered putting 3 in the deck, but I thought 3 was a little too many on turn 4 since we got Mina out there that we also want to play. So I just put 2 in the deck. Now, I do want to say right now, before I put the video out, I did realize that the next set, Our Devastation, they did show a Samut Planeswalker, and I'm thinking about putting her in the deck, possibly. Maybe a 1 copy, or remove Arlinn and put her in instead, since this is a Samut deck, just for the lulz. But just wanted to put that out there, that I've been thinking about that card too in this deck and how fun that's going to be. So our other hero, another transformed creature, is Ulrich of the Krallenhorde. A legendary creature, 4/4, so we got lots of legendary heroes here in this deck. We're going to play 2 copies just because it's a 5-drop. A little heavy to get that much mana out and get him on the battlefield. But whenever this creature enters the battlefield or transforms, we get to give a target creature +4/+4. Wow, man, that right there, I've gotten I've won some games with that power right there. Putting that on a creature and then just giving it having it have trample, or giving it haste, having vigilance. You put that on Samut, man, they're really hurting because Samut has double strike. So she's doing 14 damage if you can hit him straight to the face. If she's got trample from your Charioteer and they got like some creatures out, they're still taking a ton of damage. That's awesome. Now, at the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast, we transform him, and he turns into the Uncontested Alpha. Now, this werewolf is badass. Whenever this creature transforms into the Uncontested Alpha, you may have it fight target non-werewolf creature you don't control. So another way to just remove and take away their guy that they have blocking, or their most powerful guy, just fight it with this 6/6 and take him down. And then, again, if no spells are cast, you have to... If the other player doesn't cast 2 or more spells, you transform him back to the Krallenhorde form, the human form. So, another awesome card. We're only running 2 of those. I kind of considered running 3, again, because he's so awesome. I mean, you can definitely mix these around, and it could still work and be fun. I think, just based on playing, this has been the best kind of configuration I've had, because like you don't want to have too many of these in your hand at the early stages of the game and you can't do anything. You want to have more of those other creatures, but as soon as you get to the end, these are your bombs that you drop, these heroes. the Krallenhorde, the Samut, the Mina. Well, the Mina's not really a hero, just a cool card that I wanted to put in the deck. I mean, she's a hero, but she's not like as powerful as Samut and Krallenhorde and Arlinn. So some of our spells we're going to play to protect ourselves or make the way for our creatures is Magma Spray. We'll play 3 times this. Deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. I put 3 of these in the deck. I'm considering also, I probably am going to jump it up to 4 maybe, because zombies and embalm creatures, this card takes care of those. If they're embalming or they want to get stuff from the graveyard, we'll just, whatever we kill, we'll just exile it instead and not have to deal with it the rest of the game. And we'll also play 3 shocks, so 6 spells that can deal damage. If I put more Magma Spray in, I'll take out the shock, take out a shock. But this deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Both of these are 1 mana. So, and I'm running so many because we need to clear the way. If they got these early creatures out, these 1/1s, these 2/2s, these 1/2s, these 3/1s, these 3/2s, we're just gonna blow them up and then hit them in the face, of course. So those are our spells. For land base, I'm just running 11 mountains and 11 forests. I didn't really think too much about the lands. I just threw in 11 of each. Now I will say you can jump up your budget a little bit and add some Cinderglades and some game trials. I did this in the other deck that I'm going to share at a later time. The more pricey version of this deck with the Glory Bringers. I definitely added some more of these different types of lands to give me some more options. But if you do want to jump up your budget a little bit and add some of these, I mean, you don't have to add all of them. You could just throw in 2 Cinderglades, 2 game trials, or 4 Cinderglades and 2 game trials. You can mix them up, but I mean, it definitely adds a little bit more. I would like to say that I think the game trials are a little bit better than the Cinderglades, in the fact that if you have a mountain or forest in your hand, you can just show it, and then it doesn't have to come in tapped. And then you have a little bit more options in those early turns, especially if you have this in your hand in turn 1. So game trials are going to be better early in the game, and Cinderglades are going to be better later in the game, because this Cinderglades come in tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. So based on where you're feeling like your mana is kind of not working out, or where you want to have these cards come in not tapped, is where you place them. So if you want these cards to come in not tapped earlier in the game, get more game trials. If you want these cards not to come in tapped later in the game, get more Cinderglades. So looking at our sideboard, I'm running 3 Blossoming Defenses. Target creature you control gets 2/2/2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. This is good just to pump our guy if we need to just pump him for those last bits of damage. But mainly I'm running this as protection. If they're removing my creatures a lot, I'm going to throw these in the deck. I would say for these sideboards, when you're throwing them in, look at your 3 drops to remove. Remove your some of your Prowling Serpopards. Remove some of your Charioteers. I'd probably remove my Charioteers over the Serpopard, because the Serpopard has 4 damage and the Charioteer only has 3. So I just probably take out maybe, you know, you could do all 3 Charioteers, or take out 2 of your Charioteers and 1 Serpopard, or even 1 Brazen Scourge. I would just look in that area to make your sideboard exchanges. But 3 Blossoming Defenses, 3 Fiery Tempers, another 3 drop. It deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and it has Madness. I got this in here because there's some cards out there that are making you discard, and if I'm gonna discard something, I'm gonna use it. So I'll throw this in if I have to discard a lot, and then I can blow up some of their guys and make more way on my turn for my guys to get through. I'm running 3 times Plummet, destroy target creature with flying. This is just good because if they got some flyers, or they got some flyers we need to deal with, it doesn't matter how tough they are. If they got the 6/6 flyer out or something crazy, just throw the plummets in there, and then you can just blow them up and get rid of them. I put in 2 insult to injuries. So insult, the first time we cast it for 3 mana, damage can't be prevented this turn. If a source you control would deal damage this turn, it deals double that damage instead. The double strike sounded amazing to me. And also, if they're playing like that fog type deck, or any kind of like fog or anything like that, we'll go ahead and throw these in. That way they can't do that, especially if it's going to be like turn 4 or something, turn 3 or 4 after we've hit them for a lot. Because a fog deck isn't going to have too many creatures out on the first couple turns. So you can hit them hard with those first couple creatures with the Insider out. And then right at the end there, you can just prevent the damage on turn 4 or 5. And then they can't prevent it. And you can get in and hit them in the face and kill them. Now the aftermath part of it, it deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to target player. So another good like removal type spell. I'm running 2 of these right now. I've used it maybe once or twice and it did okay, but I've been considering like maybe there's 2 other better cards to put here in the sideboard just to deal with some things in the meta at the moment. That's definitely a card you could definitely change based on how the meta is working. Maybe even add another Blossoming Defense, because man, when you go to blow something up and somebody does Blossoming Defense, that sucks. So, or even another Plummet. You could do a lot of things. I would also like to say here too, if you're looking to sideboard, some of those shocks. So if you're throwing in Fiery Temper, I'd probably take out like a shock or 2 or a Magma Spray, because you got six spells in there. Some of these could, so you could either look at your 3-drop creatures or your spells, because you got a lot of spells in there. You may not need all those. So look at those to sideboard. Our other 2 sideboards are by force. So this is going to take care of our artifacts. These are basically both these cards, Dissenters, Deliverance, and by force are going to deal with artifacts. So by force we pay X in a mountain, and we can destroy X artifacts. So we pay 3, we can destroy 2 artifacts. Those artifact decks are out there. Marduk's out there. So we definitely need to destroy artifacts. And then Dissenter's Deliverance is really good because it has cycling. And it costs 2, so basically 1 mana to destroy an artifact, and 1 mana is for the option to cycle. So it's not too expensive. Plus we get to be able to cycle it and draw a card if we don't see what we want to see at the moment. I've considered dropping one of these, probably the Deliverance, because I need to add something in for enchantments. I've really considered maybe even taking out the insult to injury to add something that can deal with enchantments, because there are some enchantments out there that are pretty nasty, and I haven't decided yet, just to fight through those or maybe put something in the sideboard to deal with them. But that's something you can consider on your own as well and change up. I mean, the deck is a pretty fun, interchangeable deck that you can kind of change things around. But the main idea is just get in there and hit their face. I mean, these cards all work pretty well together, I think. So that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you go out and build the deck, I hope you have fun with it. And I'll be putting out that more pricey, non-budget version. I guess it's not non-budget. It's not going to be too expensive since I'm playing it. But it'll be a fun jump up from this deck too. If you like this deck too, if you get this deck and you see the next video, it might be some things you might want to upgrade into to have just a little bit more fun, be a little bit more competitive, have an F&M. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.